Hey there, welcome to Seed, Soil, Water. I'm so glad you're here. This channel wouldn't exist without our amazing collective. Check back every Tuesday and Thursday for readings at 10 a.m. Pacific and Friday nights for new Flower and Fire podcast episodes. Be blessed, be well, be free.
Hey, what's good? I speak a hedge of protection over this word. I speak a hedge of protection over this message, and I manifest and pray that it will reach every single person that it's meant for. Okay. The spirit wouldn't let me go about this particular message. So take a minute, remove all distractions. If you have to save this to watch later, add it to your playlist. Turn your phone off, whatever you need to do. Speaking of, I'm going to put my phone on silent right now. Okay. So this is such a crucial word, and I feel like it's a critical word for the moment, for right now. Whenever you find this, it's for you right now, and it is something that the spirit is like urgently. Birds are flying over, the ones that go south for winter. Is it winter? Wow, it's fall. Okay, yep, that's happening. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it might be significant to you and to your path, going south for winter, because winter is coming. Okay. Seems a little bit cryptic, and I'm going to focus on the word right now. The word is this. People are walking bubbles of frequency. People are walking bubbles of frequency. So remember in Charlie Brown, that the smelly kid that like had he always had a trail of like dust around him. So we are all that. Okay. All of us are walking bubbles of spiritual energy and help me with this word, spirit. The point is, and by the way, I have kept this one to myself for a long time, for like the hesitation of like, this almost sounds like antisocial. It teeters on the edge of being like antisocial when you really boil it down and realize, but here's the thing, it's the truth. So, and the spirit, and I was about to go about my day. I'm like, I've already recorded a few videos. Spirit is very talkative today, and I was going to go about my day, and then literally he brought the exact same message through a different person I was listening to after I already received the download. So if that's not confirmation about the spirit wants this message to get to the people now, I don't know what else there could be no further confirmation. So here I am. It's very important, and we have to stop making excuses for the people in our lives that refuse to do the inner work to tend to their frequency, to their bubble, to their spirit, to their internal health. The people who are grown adults who refuse to do the inner work because it's difficult, because it's uncomfortable, because they don't want to, because they're lazy, because they're apathetic, because they're maybe burnt out, whatever the thing is. But if your life is matched up, and it does, and like there's different levels of matched upness that you can like your spouse is probably about the most matched upness that you could be with somebody. How can you keep your energetic bubble cleansed, purified, healthy, and neutral baseline if you are with somebody who is energetically polluting your frequency constantly? Let me give you a very uncomfortable example that I had to live through to learn this front and center. I was married to somebody one time. In the beginning, there were a bunch of synchronicities like that pointed us. When I say a bunch, I mean like hundreds of synchronicities pointing us to the path. Like that this was it, we were meant to be together. And I was even later told in my own spiritual time that I was indeed led into it, because that was a huge question on my mind. Like, why would you lead me into this? Like, what? And then it made me question my intuition, my spirituality. It made me question if I really hear God, like, because I'm like, you led me into this, and then it exploded. But people's free will is always the wild card that we're dealing with. Okay, so that just is what it is. We are also in a war zone realm where not everything is, we're here to do the transmuting. We are here as light workers. We are here as the sent ones to do the work. So you shouldn't be surprised when people end up being activated against your path, because it's literally the whole thing. And also, from a humility standpoint, all of us ought to be very aware of the possibility of, and this is why we must maintain, constantly pursue the tending to our to our bubble, to our atmospheric bubble. Like me, as a me personally, I consistently pursue the cleansing, the purification, the leveling out, the healing of myself, so that I don't end up going down a road that I don't want to go. Like, for example, there's certain, I limit where I go and who I hang out with, knowing that sometimes that can tempt me into doing things that, like drinking too much, and now I have to deal with my frequency being lowered. Alcohol is low vibe. It's not bad, but it's just like money. Like, if you are obsessed with money to the point where it causes you to sell your soul for it, it's not worth it. If you can't stop drinking because you're trying to use it as a tool to escape doing the inner work, it's not worth it. And now you have to pay double, because now it really damaged your overall vibe, your frequency, the level at which you're able to maintain, and it brings you down. So if you're in a healthy, good place where you can hang out and have a drink, then cool, good for you. But if you know that you're doing the inner work and that you have a lot stacked against you, especially if you're partnered up with people who are not helping, maybe you avoid that, right? So anyway, things like that. So the really not cool example that I'm going to share is that I was married to somebody. We had a good life. We were successful. I would even say that some people probably saw us like as a power couple. We had a business. We were raising children. Well, when things were doing good, we had one child. We were doing good. We were successful on a lot of levels. We were spiritually, supposedly, like on track. Then that person chose, with his free will choices, he chose, there are no excuses here. I do not use addiction as a label of excuse, because all people have free will, and the finished work says that all people have access to freedom, period. So he chose, with his free will choices, to go off the rails and do drugs instead of continuing to do the inner work, and instead of being honest with himself and with everybody. He chose to do that. And this is what I'm telling you. When I tell you that we are all living according to vibration and frequency, that's the only way to explain what happened next. So he chose toxic vibration, low vibe frequency, and it did not only impact him and his body and his choices and his mind. Next thing you know, in our life, so many ripple effect things are going off the rails. Our truck, that was great truck, a great work truck, all of a sudden is like not working anymore. Gosh, there has to be so many more things. Our money started acting funny. Of course, he had a huge contributing factor to that. But there were like I by the way, I have never broken a bone in my entire life. I fell down the stairs, broke 3 ribs with being pregnant. I stepped off of the curb and twisted my ankle. Like, all of a sudden I'm getting like wounded all the time. I did something to my pinky toe, or my ring finger toe. I'm pretty sure I broke it. Like, so what I mean is, like, his low vibe frequency, and it's like any of those things isolated would have just been like, oh, it's a freak accident, just happened. Any of those things on their own would be just whatever, life happens. But let me tell you what happened next. When I evicted his bullshit out of my life and cut off from him energetically and legally and all of the ways I cut off from him, my life, all of a sudden, storm is calm. It took some time. I had to rebuild. he caused me to be homeless, like lots of different contributing factors and like lots of ripple effects of his bullshit that I had to pay for because I was a part of his energetic field. He was a part of my energetic field. And while I was maintaining my energetic field, my atmosphere, my internal spirit, whatever you want to call it, his bullshit was now seeping into mine. And it was incredibly toxic, and it impacted everything in our 3D realm, not just him, and not just like our money because he was spending it in reckless ways. And I'm talking like huge things, behavioral issues like with children. Like my son was potty trained and then regressed, and like I said, a lot of these things we could just point to like, oh well, it's because of this or because of that. But the thing is, when you when you take a step back and it's like, wow, that storm happened while he was here, and as soon as I chose to say no more, because I am not an enabler, and I also am not responsible for a grown-ass man who refuses to do the work. That's what Christ was for, if you guys subscribe to that, like, especially because religion tries to keep us all caught up trying to save each other. It's already finished. He said it's finished, and the Holy Spirit is available to everybody. So free will says that. And I had to learn a lot of this just on my own, like through the travels, of life. So we can point people in the direction, and that's what I do here right now. But that distinction is like, you do not have to save people at the expense of your own root system. You should not be doing that. It is not your responsibility to do that. Children, elderly, the least of these, that's the exception. And I believe that that's the exception. But just grown people who have access to every help that they could possibly need, and they just refuse to do the work because they don't want to. If you are a grown person enabling one of those people, then you are just as much of the problem. And I invite you to reflect on that, because children, especially if you have children, are now being impacted, and they are becoming familiar with that polluted frequency, and it's all energy, like it's all spiritual. And now they are going to grow up to be looking for that magnetizing to it. So what's more important than how much God hates divorce is that God hates the pollution that we allow to stay in our orbit, especially when it's poisoning our children. It's enough. Them are fighting words. It makes me passionately angry. People are walking frequency bubbles. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's like, okay, let's talk about it in the context of music and songs. And like, so, prior to my like evolution of my purification of my bubble, I love hip hop, and I still love it. Like I still love the beats, and I love like the feel, and I love like the dance, I love that. But like, so it's like we used to listen to that stuff, and it was programming our spirit, and like the way they talk about women and the way they talk about a lot of things. So then so then you grow, and like you probably evolve a little bit, and then when you go back and listen to it, it's like, oh my gosh, like, do you hear what they're saying? Oh, like I would not want my daughter to be listening to these words, or to think that it's okay to speak about women like that, things like that. But when it's familiar, it's like, but I really miss that song, let's be real transparent. What's that song? It's maybe I'm not supposed to say it because I can't think of the freaking artist. But anyway, like there's some really, really bad hip hop songs that I love. Like I love it. Like I love it. Like, Problems, that if okay? I love that song. But it's like, why would I want to say that? Why would I declare that over myself? Like, I should not be declaring that over myself. I don't want to speak that over my life. And I definitely don't want to speak that over my atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Like, so those things matter. And there's a reason that they're being put out massively, and like, those are the songs that are making it to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, strategy. There's strategy in all of this. We can all rise above it though. We totally have everything we need to rise above it. And that's the thing, you have to have, this is where the faith comes in, to initiate the faith activation, to choose to believe, like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation, but I'm declaring to my atmosphere, no more putting up with this ish now. And then ask your divine team. Divine team, I invite you to show me, start leading me out of this. Lead me out of this. If this is not the thing, if this is polluting my atmosphere, if this is bad for my kids, lead me out of this. I invite you now. And I'm feeling whole body chills. The spirit is inviting you. Like, all you got to do is ask, and I will start working on your behalf to get you out of that. If you have a toxic spouse, ask the spirit, start leading me out of this, lead me out of it. Show me the door, take them away. You know what's crazy? The spirit will very undramatically, very peacefully just make things resolve if you invite the spirit to do that. It will surprise you. Sometimes there's a little bit of tug and pull, you know, whatever, there's tug of war. Sometimes, and like, and this is the thing, like I just got done saying, we love that song. I love that song. There's a time that comes where you miss the song and you're like, yeah, I know that that person is toxic and the song is not good, but I love hearing it and it makes me feel comfortable and it makes me feel like I'm, you know, it gives me this sense, this false sense of safety and hope and love, and like this pretend love, even though we all know it's not, that's not love. Anybody that's willing to stay in your atmosphere just to pollute it and refusing to do the work so they can leech off of the work you're doing and all of the organization that you have and the energy, the good life energy that you provide, they're just leeching off of it like a vampire, but they don't want to do the work themselves. It's like this, you know, and maybe you're addicted just as much as they're addicted to using you. You're addicted to being used because it's what you've been trained up to be. And this is no shade. This is no shade on you. We're all figuring out who we are and figuring out that we've been carrying around a backpack full of bricks that was passed to us from our lineage, that we need to start unloading that shit. So get in therapy, start doing some meditations that reprogram your mind, that change your mindset. Start choosing to do some affirmation, listen to affirmations that start telling you a different story than the one that is subconsciously running. You probably don't even hear the story that's running in your mind. You don't hear it anymore. It's just way down here, like a low bass, you know, that's just like boo. It's so low that you don't even hear it anymore, but it's actually keeping you stuck. Sometimes all you got to do is remove that one toxic person out of your atmosphere in order to let you loose your divine identity. It'll immediately snap you into place in your divine identity, your divine calling. And it's going to feel so good when you get there, because it's going to be like, this is what I was made for. This is what I was made for. And you might not even realize that that person that you are staying with because you think it's the right thing to do, or because some religious bullshit has told you that this is more important than your divine identity. There is no system of man on this planet that is more important or that knows more than your divine identity, than your divine purpose, the reason you came here. Think about it. If you can think about it from outside of time, like, you're a divine soul that was sent here on a mission. And then you get down here and you get caught up in all of these 3D things. And like, you know, and this is the part where it starts to feel a little bit like antisocial. It's like, I'm not saying do anything crazy toward anybody, because don't. You invite the divine to solve this for you, and it will. They will. It will. They will. Like, it's amazing how quickly the divine can rearrange your entire life. Some of us had to go through things in order to learn things like this. I literally learned so much from that. I was led into it. I'm not proud of it. It was extremely humiliating. I'm still unhappy that I have children that had to pay that lesson too. I'm pissed about that. I am not happy about it. I've made it very clear to the divine that I don't feel like I would have signed up for that I would have actually done better by myself, and especially better by my children than what happened. But yet we still have time. So I'm here for the redemption story, and I can't wait to see how it works out. Not saying I'm getting back with that person ever. What I'm saying is that there's still a redemptive story possibility that I probably don't have the divine vision to see yet, about how this is going to be okay, or like how it's my kids are going to come out to be amazing adults. It is so. And they're going to be better for it. They're going to be better for it because they're going to have learned this lesson early. You know, I had to learn it as an adult. But anyway, is there anything else, Spirit? When it comes back to the songs, you know, the songs, like we like being around the music that we know, but there is amazing music that's out there that you're gonna love and that it's gonna be healthy and it's gonna actually speak into your life the way that it should. And yeah, it might be difficult, it might feel foreign, it might be new. This anybody with kids can relate to this whole thing. Like when it comes to TV or songs or books, whatever, they like what they know already. And they'll be like, no, if I try and put on something different. But then it's like, if you just give it a minute, they're like, oh, I like this, you know? And that is so us as grown-ups. So anyway, the foreign unknown is scary. And maybe in your mind, you are incapable of seeing the way out. But the divine has a supernatural way to portal you out of this situation should you ask. Your free will must ask for it. So I invite you to invite the divine to come into your life and to just be like, hey, I want to live in my according to my highest timeline and my divine identity and the mission that I came here for. I give you access to my life to rearrange it however needed in order to get me on that track. Let it be so. And then you just get to sit back and kind of watch how and like when the nudges come, when the like do this, you know, do it. When you hear you know, an instruction, do it, follow it. Even if it's scary, even if you don't want to, even if, you know, whatever, like just do it. Just follow the path, follow the breadcrumbs, and it will lead you out. And also invite them to remove the toxic from, and by the way, script this. I am so grateful now. Script this means write it, like write it down, journal this. I am so grateful now that my life is ruled by divine order. I'm so grateful now that that right divine order rules my life, harmony rules my family, that we are surrounded by healthy, high vibrational souls who have done the work, who are here, that are for my highest timeline, that are for my highest mission, that are for my children, and then just watch who's removed. You'll be surprised. It's heartbreaking, really. It's really heartbreaking to find out who's who. But you have to it helps when you think about it from the perspective of like a video game. Detach a little bit, you know, realize your soul is so much greater than this one life you're living in right now, and detach from it enough to be like, okay, the video game analogy helps me get through a lot, but it's actually a lot more accurate than it sounds. Like it's a lot more real than it sounds. But just being like, okay, like the video game is happening, I'm the character in the game, and the character has a mission, and seasons change just like in a movie, and I thought that one was going to go with me the whole way. Turns out they're not. Wow, that's disappointing. Okay, let's see what happens next, and detach from it. Don't internalize like I wasn't worthy of of him changing for me. Like, yo, he's fighting his own battles, you know. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you or your worthiness or whether you're valuable. Like, you've got to know that for yourself, just your soul being here. And in fact, the more that comes up against you probably means you're actually a little bit more valuable, which obviously there is no such thing as one soul being more valuable than another, but you might have a mission that's a pretty important one, which is why so much has come up against you. By the way, I can't stand that message, like it, because it's not encouraging at the time when you're the person that's like, when you're in the middle of the war zone and people are like, it just means you have a great purpose. It's like, cool. Like, I don't know. Like, I know the message is true, but it's also like so cringy to say it out loud because like I've been there so many times where people are like, the greater the storm, the greater, you know, and just like, that is like, I appreciate the sentiment, but look, like that does not help right now when I'm literally going through the floodwaters and walking through the actual fire and it burns like hell. But guess what? I come out on the other side and I don't even smell like smoke, yo. Okay. So I hope this message, I know this message will find whoever it's for. I pray that it actually pierces to your inner soul and that you have the courage. I speak courage over you. I speak divine supernatural courage and acceleration over you and your path, that you would indeed encounter the timeline. Ooh, that you indeed would encounter the timeline that is yours from outside of time, that you would indeed run into the mission that you were sent here to do, that nothing, no weapon formed against you can prosper. The only weapon that forms against you that can prosper is your own free will. So I invite you to be bold, to stand up against whatever your understanding is, and instead give it to the divine, surrender it to the divine, and allow the divine to come in and get you into alignment with your path. It will bring you shalom, peace, nothing missing, nothing broken. It will align you and your children with the blessings that are meant for you. Get that joker out of the way and allow for the divine to flow through your life the way that it was meant to. Remove the stop gates. Remove the stop gates of people who are grown-ass humans who just refuse to do the work because they don't want to. You'll know who they are because they act like they're going to, and then they never do. They act like they're going to, and then they never do. They act like they're going to, and then they never do. You'll know them by their fruit. I used to have a question about what that meant, and guess what it means? The frequency that resonates around them is fucking toxic. I apologize, and I also don't apologize, because the toxic is their fruit, and you'll know them by, are they operating out of chaos and escapism and like feed the itch, scratch the itch with, like, what is it? Video games, sports, escapism, gambling, like drinking, like, escapism. You should know it. And if you don't know it, ask the divine to show you what escapism is, because escapism is not the same as living in divine purpose. And you can have somebody who claims to be like a man or a woman of God, but if they are living via escapism, they are not living in their accordance with their divine purpose, because you can't do escapism and take up your cross at the same time. Okay, so anyway, I hope be blessed, be well, be free.
Remember to subscribe to Seed, Soil, Water, home of the Beloved Collective and the Flower and Fire podcast. And just so you know, new readings are released every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and new podcast episodes release every Friday evening.